I mean, we
I
got
don't
it
actually
right.
know.
I don't know. I forget. James is always the good clapper.
Yeah.
I click, he claps. That's kind
Click
of the
and clap.
click and clap.
Back.
Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Funhaus. This episode is brought to you by Lisa Mattress. We'll be hearing a bit about that later. And this podcast is actually going to be a little different. Instead of a specific film, we'll be doing a general discussion on the topic of directorial debuts. Because Adam and I saw this movie, Sorry to Bother You, and did not think it was strong enough to hold its own episode.
What's the name of the movie? Sorry, you ate it a little bit.
Sorry to Bother You.
Really? There's been so much hype for this movie.
I know. I'm excited to see it.
Oh, no.
Oh, who's that? Who said that?
Oh,
Is that a special guest? Jared from Wisecrack?
it is.
Welcome
Hello
back.
and welcome
Glad
back.
to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Is it
For
weird?
sure.
Is it weird not talking about shitty movies this time? Maybe just talking about good movies?
Well, that's the thing.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we could talk about shitty directorial debuts, right?
Oh, crap.
Okay, here, let me give you a list of some directorial debuts
Well,
because...
you got to intro everyone.
Well, okay, who do we got on our left? Say your name.
That's
No,
Adam
it's
Covid.
Adam
I was
Kovic.
trying to point out you left out Elise, but that's fine.
Elise, well,
Elise is
hi.
a force. She holds her own.
Elise
This
is what I
Elise.
like to call a walking encyclopedia of directorial debuts.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why she's here.
It's like she
Thank you.
somehow keeps his information in her pocket
It's
somehow.
like I made this list of my favorites.
I'm texting Elise at all hours of the night of like, what was the first movie Denis Villeneuve made?
And Freddie got fingered. No,
That's correct.
That's somebody else.
And then I sleep
John's
well
gonna
that
tell
night.
you. John's gonna tell you who made that.
All right.
Well, I mean, this is why I thought this would kind of be an interesting thing to talk about because this movie, Sorry to Bother You, is a directorial debut, and it's something that Boots Riley, who's traditionally a musician, has been trying to get going since 2014. He kind of spoke about it. Adam and I had the honor of going to a special screening where he hosted, and he basically said that he wrote the screenplay in 2014 and has been trying for 4 years to make it. And it was... I was really entertained by it. I really liked it, but it was a very flawed film.
I liked...
I don't feel like that's a very long time, 4 years, to make a fucking movie. I mean,
Not
that shit
really,
takes a long
no.
time, you know?
I mean, how long did it take David Lynch to make Eraserhead? Like
9 years.
yeah. and that's not with today's technology and advancements
Oh,
and
yeah.
like sort of like the internet hype train you can use when you're just like a creepy dude who made films with your daughter
Tell me when-
or your little sister,
Yeah.
you know.
If
like,
when they released on Quixote, we'll talk.
If you're starting to write something in 2014 it comes out in 2018, you're doing pretty well.
That's not bad. And the movie itself, I don't want to take the wind out of any sort of sail for you. I would say go in with minimal expectations. I think it's a really interesting movie, and I think especially for a directorial debut, it's cool, and I think it has a lot of interesting parts about it. But it definitely feels like a first-time filmmaker, and I think you'll know what I'm talking about after you see it.
Okay.
And that's about all I want to say, since you guys are both interested in seeing it.
Yeah.
But it is a film that I do not want to see again.
Yeah, well, I've just been following all the social media promotion for it because it's been like really interesting campaigns and not really specific to the movie, but just sort of like the vibe around it. And it's got a pretty cool cast.
Yeah, so you don't think this is going to make Lakeith Stanfield a star?
He is by far not the bad part of the movie. Like
Okay.
I think he shines, and I think a lot of people know that from him being in Atlanta. Even in Death Note, James seemed to like him in
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Like he was like, "Oh, Lakeith's great." And like, I don't think I've seen him do anything bad yet. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly like his character in Death Note. But that's because I was a fan of the anime. So what he did with L, I thought was sort of weird.
I do think he just used a homophobic slur in a freestyle rap that he posts on social media, so that might get him some attention.
Positive.
But maybe not the kind that we.
What did he call you?
Yeah. Well, he said to tell you. He told me. He said to tell you.
I think he's a fantastic actor. If you haven't seen Atlanta, I think you should check it out. He's a very young actor, and he's a very talented actor. Do you watch it at all, Jared? Atlanta?
I have not seen it yet. I'm looking forward to it. But he plays Logan in Get Out. He's the actual guy who says Get Out.
Yeah, he's kind of barely in it though.
He was just in a-
but it's an important role.
I forget the name of the romantic comedy that was on Netflix last year. The Curious Case of Jessica Jones, maybe, or something like that.
The
It's like
Marvel
Chris O'Donnell.
character?
No,
That seems like a
Jessica James.
crossover.
Jessica James.
I don't know.
But yeah, he's
Either way.
kind of like the
We'll
lead in that.
If the movie, I think, has enough hype behind it,
Incredible.
sorry to bother you.
I totally butchered it.
So close.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, that movie's like pretty enjoyable. Chris
She's
O'Dowd.
in People, Places, and Things,
Yeah.
which is really good.
It is.
But if anything, Sorry to Bother You is very unique and kind of its own thing. And I think that's something that kind of, at least when I was looking up different directorial debuts, is something that can be very true about people's first-time films. Because, let me give you a little list here. Night of the Living Dead, did that maybe change up the film industry, like flip it on its head? I don't know. Maybe Reservoir Dogs changed how movies worked. Shawshank Redemption.
Does he want us to argue with him?
Yeah, I mean,
No, hold on. Master of Disguise.
Keep going. I'm noticing a trend.
Freddy Got Fingered. Basically, it's like it's a roll of the dice. They're some of the best and worst films ever made were people's first movies.
Quick question. What was the first film Bradley Cooper directed?
Bradley
didn't even know
Cooper
he directed.
directed.
Only because we went and saw Jurassic World last night, and there was a preview for a movie that he directed coming out with him and Lady Gaga.
Wait, he directed that?
Oh,
It said he
Star
did.
is Born.
A
is what
Star
you were
is Born,
thinking.
yeah.
Oh, the remake.
Oh, it's The Hangover.
He did not direct The Hangover, did he?
No, he didn't.
This is his first
first.
movie.
First one. Okay, shit. I actually have high hopes for that movie.
That's another thing, though. Like, even when we were talking about Donnie Darko or S. Darko last time, we talked about how, like, yeah, I mean, Donnie Darko was successful because, yeah, this 20-something-year-old director had a group of veterans around him
Yeah.
who were able to kind of pick up the slack when he didn't know what he was doing. So, yeah, when you talk about someone like Bradley Cooper, this guy's been on sets his whole life. He probably is, like, homies with some of the best cameramen and some of the best DPs in the world. I have a hard time he can really fuck up that bad unless he's trying to do something super risky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he's learned the David O. Russell like scream technique,
Yeah.
and that's his school of
Like, at the very
filmmaking.
least, he's not going to make something that's like or just like isn't even competently put together.
I had an interesting talk with completely unrelated to all, well, kind of related to this, but there were people who are actors, and they were talking about going to like a director school that like actors can go to if they want to start directing movies or television, and it was eye-opening for me because actors, obviously, I think they pick up on a lot of things, but on the other side, there's a lot of actors who just don't give a shit. Like there were, I've heard stories of people who just like, there's the Tom Cruise, right, where he's like, I want to know everything that's going on. I care about everything going on. But then there's some actors like, I just show up, read my lines, and I fuck off. And you're like, wow, okay, that's interesting. Because you would think, right? Yeah, Bradley Cooper would learn all these things or at least pick up on people. I guess it's just sort of the person's temperament.
It also just depends what your relationship is with like the director of photography. Like, yeah, if Bradley Cooper's just like, all right, director of photography, you're gonna like build the shots and stuff. I'm just here to talk with the other actors and make sure that you know the performances are good. I mean, there are plenty of movies like that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how Woody Allen directs.
Yeah,
like,
you don't know if he's doing shot composition
Right.
or scene construction, what he's doing.
right.
But I guess also it's a little different too, where when you're on a film set, everyone's there to do one job, typically.
Yeah.
Unless it's an indie movie or whatever, where sure, you got we're looking at the trailer for Reservoir Dogs right now. Quentin Tarantino wrote, directed, acted, probably held the camera a few times, but fast forward to like his new film coming up, he's most likely just directing. Maybe he has a cameo, but
Yeah.
that when you're working on a high budget set, you do your one job. And if I imagine an actor, if someone tried to be like, hey DP, what, he'd be like, fuck off. Like, I'm doing my job.
Right.
Do your job. Leave me alone. And I don't know. I've heard
Yeah.
movie sets are crazy anyway.
And then
so
the
whatever.
film that Adam and I are going to be talking about on our podcast next week, Eraserhead. I mean, David Lynch, from then to this day, literally controls every element. I mean, he does his own sound design. He writes it. Now he's like one of the main characters in the new Twin Peaks season. So yeah, Eraserhead is, I mean, that's probably my favorite directorial debut because I mean, it's amazing how mature he already is as a filmmaker from the get-go.
Yeah.
Even though it took 9 years to make.
I guess that's the difference between like an auteur who is controlling all those elements
Yeah.
and a hired director. Like Wes Anderson's Bottle Rocket is one of the debuts I always think of because it's a lesser budget Wes Anderson movie. It is his first like major feature directorial debut.
Yeah.
But you can see the elements of Wes Anderson creeping in, like with what he has to work with. And it's not. I don't think it's his best film. It's the film that like he made with what he had. But it definitely sets a tone for what Wes Anderson's going to be, and that is what I think a good directorial debut achieves. Even if it's not like a out the gate, movie like a Shawshank Redemption that you have on your list there, John. That is like, wow, this is Academy Award worthy. I think if it at least shows the potential a director has, that I think is enough.
I made a playlist of some trailers just that we can watch while we're doing this, but this is a good list. So Bone Tomahawk, one of my favorite films.
Never even heard of it.
Never even heard of it? It's great.
You know what happened to me with that movie? I haven't seen it yet because it came out a little bit after the remake of what's it?
310 to Yuma?
No.
The other one?
Fuck. Not Kurt Russell, but Jeff Bridges did
the Rooster Cogburn.
Yeah, Rooster Cogburn. Like
what is True Grit?
Oh, True Grit.
True Grit. Yeah, it came out like a little bit after True Grit, and the posters. I was like, man, Bone Tomahawk just looks so much like Rooster Cogburn that I'm not. But I've only heard good things about it. About the Bone.
It's really great. It's just the classic story of 4 doomed men right out at dawn, like the classic Western thing. It's that. And it's done really, really well, in my opinion.
And Patrick Wilson's underrated, I think.
Ooh, Nightcrawler. That is a good movie.
Who directed Nightcrawler?
A guy.
Nightcrawler just makes you feel dirty when you watch it.
Nightcrawler is a good film where, I thought, what has he gone on to do?
He has gone on. He's a writer beforehand.
Okay.
He wrote the Bourne Legacy. Roman J. Israel Esquire.
With
Denzel.
I heard this was not good.
Yeah, that's tough. I guess he's an older gentleman.
I always feel so bad. Like, can you imagine if, like, I mean, we all live in Hollywood. We probably all know people who are directors or playing the director game. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I got real popular friends.
Yeah, not even popular friends, but people are just, in
the industry.
Just like struggling and like trying to make it. Like, can you imagine if you're just spending years trying to get a movie off the ground and someone comes to you and says, hey, we got like great actors like Robert De Niro and attached to this movie. Do you want to direct it? And the script just sucks. Like, what do you do? Do you hold out? Like, your agent's not going to want to ever talk to you again if you say, no, I don't want to do this movie starring Robert De Niro because the script sucks. I mean, you fucking do it, and I guess you kind of just cross your fingers and just hope that you can make it good. But I mean, and then it ends up sucking. There's nothing you can do about it, and then your career's in the toilet. Like, I mean, this is not an easy business.
Oh God, no. I mean, it's one of those things that, Elise, you know this just from like the thing we shot recently when we were in Austin, where it's like, this is just a micro budget thing.
Oh, sure.
And it, just to make something look good in this tiny little square takes so many moving parts that when it comes together, you're like, oh, thank God. And then, like, we were just rewatching some of the footage of stuff we shot. Like I said, this is nowhere near like a film budget. And like, there's so many things where I'm like, I can just tell, I can see in my eyes, I'm worried about just hitting a mark and all these other things that like, it was never even in my head to like, you should probably act good.
Yeah, Untitled Funhaus RT sketch show. There was a point where I'm bent over and the camera's looking up at me for the entire sketch, and I was like deathly ill at the time. Ooh. So like that is no one's gonna watch it and really see that, but I couldn't breathe because all of my mucus was like at the front of my face. No.
But it's one of those things where it's like you watch a movie, you're seeing the final product, and that's all you see. You don't see all the blood,
work,
sweat, and tears all the work that went into it just to make this thing freaking work. Like just for a bunch of people to stand around and go, okay, you got to stand here, you got to stand here, but except you're going to be 30 feet over there, but you got to talk. It'll look fine. Those horses are going to look like cats.
That's by design.
Yeah, it'll all make sense in the end. And then like you see it on film, you're like, oh wow, that looks great. But it was the most awkward thing to film probably for them to do. So.
Yeah, speaking of debuts, I saw one of your videos. You guys are friends with this guy, but District 9 is one of the best directorial debuts in many years, I would say.
Yeah, at least the last 15. When did that come out? 15 years ago? 10 years ago?
2009.
2008 or
2009.
9.
So
Oh
yeah,
my
almost
God.
Scott. It's been almost 10 years.
Yeah, and that's a situation where I would say like that is a super strong debut, but I don't think Neil Blomkamp has like hit that pinnacle.
I know you guys are friends with him, so I don't know what I can say, say.
It's a weird thing where he has basically been told like by friends and family like, hey, I don't like Chappie, and he's like, but he's like, I like Chappie, so fuck you.
Yeah, I think he's able
have
to
you
be
ever
honest with himself.
Have you ever asked him about his experience working with the Antwoord? Because I watched your video interviewing him, and that's what I wanted to know.
I mean, I should. I don't know enough about them.
Okay.
But I have questions about that too. I just didn't know if it would make for interesting discussion. But hey, the next time we have them on,
I've heard that
It'll
like they were
happen.
nightmares to work with. I've heard that like like they were so hard to wrangle, ruined the whole movie. Like I've heard all sorts of shit. I'm super curious about. But
I just know when that movie trailer came out, it was never sold to me that there'd be two musicians playing the leads in this movie, and I didn't know who they were.
Oh,
yeah,
Like everyone's like, "Oh, the Antwoord, all right." I'm like, "Who? I don't."
For me,
I'm out of touch.
it wasn't. It was kind of like not a detracting point, but I just sort of when you're trying to imagine someone as a character, but their reputation precedes them, I was like, oh.
Well,
did he put them
and-
in because they're like the South African icon and
and they're playing like themselves.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
Ninja and Yolandi. They wear their own
Own
concert
clothes.
gear.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
That movie is super bizarre.
They didn't seem like people that you say no to.
Yeah. Well, I
Like-
guess. I mean, like, they are the two big cultural icons to come out of South Africa. Neil Blomkamp. I mean, the Antwoord raps about Neil Blomkamp a lot.
Yeah, see, I think that warrants maybe a cameo, not a
Oh, for
feature
sure.
role.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Like, I think what you get like a Gary Oldman type actor who will play that character.
Yeah.
Like you go, I mean, you know that story, right, from like True Romance?
Yeah, he's unrecognizable in that
Well,
one, but yeah.
he's playing one of the actors from The Professional.
Oh.
There's that. He's like one of the cronies who's just like, yeah, man, let's do this. And it's a white guy talking like a Jamaican. And he was like, I'm stealing that. I'm going to use it in this True Romance movie that I'm doing. And that's why he plays it even better than that guy.
Well, the interesting thing about the Antwoord, which is actually one of the reasons I was excited about the movie, is because they are playing characters like Ninja and Yolandi. It's not their real names. His name is like Waddy Jones or something like that. He's an art school kid. She is the daughter of like this super rich televangelist in South Africa. They are already acting, and since like their performance art is so just like seemingly uncompromising, I was excited to see, oh my God, maybe these guys will be the greatest actors in the world on screen, but it was not the case.
John, this movie you got up here was on my list too. This is Spinal Tap, Rob
Yeah.
Reiner.
I was gonna say, bust out that list.
It's. I think you're hitting them a lot.
Well, this is another great
most of
example. I mean,
them.
Rob Reiner obviously
Yep.
can call upon the best people in the world to work on his movie, and that's not to discredit him. I mean,
No.
obviously his form is on game.
Well, he
So
did this in Princess Bride, so he kind of gets I think he enters into some sort of Hall of Fame
yeah.
of making.
Oh, for
like,
sure. No, all of
great
his
films.
movies. Yeah. Didn't he also make Misery? He's a badass.
He
weird.
is.
He is. But I feel like, was it Rob Reiner who his most recent film,
He did a rom-com recently, maybe.
was it?
I just think of him in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, that's right.
He plays his dad. He's so good.
It's almost like a what's his name? I'm blanking on the name. The director of The Godfather, the
Coppola?
Coppola. Is it Coppola or Coppola?
Oh, probably Coppola.
I would say
don't know.
Coppola.
But he was this, very prolific director. Made some of the best things, and then he made Jack.
And now
Yeah.
he's like making indie movies, like like Tetro, Youth Without Youth. Both of those movies are almost unwatchable.
I guess
He did Jack.
He
Jack was
did,
absolutely.
yeah. It's
No
like
one
saddest shit ever.
I guess when you're Francis Ford Coppola, you can get to a life where you can say, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna make Jack. Or you can be in retirement age and say, I'm just gonna make the projects that interest me.
Or is it an Orson Welles thing where you're constantly trying to chase you started out at the best, and I mean the same we don't know yet, but could be said for Neil Blomkamp. I think I still think he has a lot of untapped potential.
Yeah.
I think similar to a Donnie Darko type situation or a Richard Kelly, he just needs to surround himself around people who are better than him.
Yeah, I just
and
think
make him like rise to that occasion. Like it. I imagine when Neil Blomkamp's making movies, and maybe this isn't something I'd ever say to his face, but he's probably the most talented person on set. Most
Yeah.
likely. He could probably do everyone's job and he knows it.
Mm-hmm.
He probably needs someone who could run circles around him as either like in all those facets.
I would
just
say
so that
his-
he tries harder.
Yeah, I'd say his wife is maybe his equal.
The problem.
We want to talk about like
She writes
awesome
his stuff.
directorial debuts and then like just faceplant second efforts.
Sure. Man, what would some of those
I mean,
be?
well, so when we talk about Richard Kelly, Southland Tales, which is the one I kept pitching to you guys that I wanted to talk about. But like, but to your point, like not only being the problem with being the most talented person on set is that you also have to have somebody who can tell you no. And with Southland Tales, this was clearly some sort of grandiose vision he had in his head that was like akin to the ambition of Apocalypse Now, and it was just a fucking faceplant.
and everyone said yes because Donnie Darko was a hit. Well, actually, it wasn't
Yeah.
a hit. It was a cult hit.
a cult hit, but this was like years after Donnie Darko.
But everyone on set was like, I didn't really get Donnie Darko, and it was great. So I don't really get what's happening here on set
Sure.
right now. It's probably still going to be great.
Real quick, John, I want to point out your major fuck up. You're showing the trailer for Deus Ex.
Ex Machina.
Machina.
Ex Machina, sorry. This was not the first film directed by Alex Garland.
It's the first film he was credited
Yeah,
for.
sure. Because word came out that he directed Dredd. Basically, he's not credited for directing it, but
The newer Dread,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Dread 3D.
he's the writer on it. But the story eventually came out, and it was always sort of the rumor. They're like, because he was on set every day. They're like a lot of the crew. They're like, yeah, Alex directed it. The other guy was just sort of there to make sure the 3D worked. Apparently, yeah.
I
So-
saw that in 3D.
I thought it was
It
that
was pretty.
the-
did too, it was
trippy,
good.
yeah, it was really good. I thought it was that the other guy was ruining it, and Alex was like basically fighting him to make it a good movie.
Yeah. I was excited when Ex Machina was announced because it was like, oh, I liked Dredd a lot and I liked all the films that he wrote. So and
Well,
that movie was amazing.
on the same note, what did you guys think of Annihilation?
Yeah.
I had read the book.
Yeah.
Elise and I had both read the book beforehand, and so I kind of already, I don't know, I already liked it in my head, so seeing it was just kind of a visualization of something that I'd enjoyed. So it was kind of weird, like, a lot of people I know didn't like it, but
I didn't hate it. I didn't
The
walk
ending
away.
is different, right?
Yes.
yes.
And it also, like, the thing is, the book spans, like, or that story spans 3 novels in a trilogy, and this only sort of scratches the surface, but I felt like didn't leave it open to pursue the future of the story. And for me, I just thought the book, like, I hate it. I hate the discussion of like the book's better than the movie or whatever, because I actually think the movie's like amazing of its own merit. But in terms of like unpacking the story, I did think it was a lot more compelling the way that they like unpacked the mystery in the book, because in the movie it's a little bit more just told to you early on and sort of at face value. But yeah, the end was beautiful. Like in the lighthouse, just visualizing certain parts and like I thought all the ladies that acted in it were amazing.
I appreciated the tone. I actually liked the slow burn. Maybe I was just in the mood for it, but like I liked that it wasn't your typical sci-fi action movie or anything like that. Even though I think that's kind of what people were expecting.
Yeah. Especially with a name like Annihilation.
Yeah. I guess I don't know. I didn't walk away loving it. It's not something that I was in a hurry to see again, but I was happy it existed.
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing. Like I'm glad at least a movie like this is getting made. Like, even though it's a commercial failure, most likely, it's there.
Yeah.
So, happy for that, at least.
A movie I had on my list was Primer, Shane Carruth, but I don't know, what was Shane Carruth's follow-up to Primer?
Upstream Color.
Upstream Color.
Which I did not like
Me
Upstream
neither.
Color.
Me neither.
Damn it. I liked it a lot.
I have a friend who loves Upstream Color, like
Me.
considers it his personal gospel, but I just thought that was so much up its own ass.
Oh, it absolutely is.
But Primer's dope.
But isn't it the
dope.
same thing we were talking about? We were talking about Westworld before we started this, and isn't it the same thing where it's like it's more fun to look at the JPEG of the timeline than it is to watch the movie?
For Primer?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Or to go back and watch knowing how it's going
I
to
still only seen it that
unpackaged.
one initial "what the fuck did I just watch" time.
I think I saw it a second time to show it to someone else. But it is a lot to follow.
It's so impressive that what did that
Yeah.
movie cost? Like $8,000 or
Yeah.
something like that,
that.
and they were able to create something so complex. Like
Well, they didn't waste any film. Like, everything that you see is the first take, and they never, like, it was done mathematically.
that's crazy. So
Which
they
is-
shot 1-to-1.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, I don't think of them exactly the same, but when a music artist has, their whole life to make their first album and then their sophomore album, it's like, oh, well, now they have maybe 2 years to make their sophomore album. I don't think of movies in the same way because I do think that recording 10 songs is maybe more difficult than like having another concept for a feature. But I think it is like where you can put all that lead up time into your first feature, and then to keep your heat, keep the attention on you. You've got to follow up with something, and you've got to, especially if you're an auteur where you're writing it too, like you've got to act while the stove is hot, I guess. And that I can only imagine is so much pressure. Like I think not a feature, but True Detective, coming off that first season, and then what's his name?
I know who you're talking about. Guy. Yeah.
We all dream about like making the one amazing piece of art, but then like, I think that gratification only lasts like a day, and then it's immediately to fuck, how do I top this?
Yeah.
And then it becomes hell again.
I think the ones, I guess the better stories that I guess on a happier note, there's like the Darren Aronofsky, where Pi is a movie you watch and go, it's okay. It looks like they did a lot with what they had. And if you ever watched the director's commentary for Pi, it's really fascinating, where he credits Woody Allen with the success of that movie only because they were shooting in the subways at night in New York, and Woody Allen happened to be shooting up top. And so cops kept coming and go, oh, you're good, because they thought they were second unit.
Oh, okay.
And the only way that movie got made, I mean, it's funny that he's admitting, like, I shot all this illegally.
Yeah.
But that's like how he got away with it. But then he follows it up with Requiem for a Dream, which is like, oh, cool. This is what he does with a little bit of micro budget. And then I want to say he followed that up with a Fountain.
You're right.
Yeah.
Which
And
I love the Fountain.
Fountain is on. I don't think I give enough credit. It is like I rewatch it every once in a while, and it's still like one of my favorite movies. It's so damn.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's so good, but. That movie originally was supposed to have like $150 million budget.
Right, with Brad Pitt and Kate Blanchett.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
And they cut it significantly. And I'm really happy with the movie they made, probably because it is just sort of an art through adversity sort of thing. But the stories you hear about that, like how all the special effects were done through like a microscope, and they're just looking at like cells and like,
so much better.
And like that almost works on a more like poetic level where they're traveling the universe, but what you're seeing is these tiny things but zoomed in, and how it is all kind of connected. And I'm like, that's awesome. That's fucking amazing. And just the way it was shot and everything else, like there is actually a making of that, but in a really weird way on Vimeo. There was a guy who worked on set, and he was just sort of filming behind the scenes. And it's a much more kind of voyeuristic way of like watching a making of.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend that if you're into any Darren Aronofsky like sort of film school stuff.
Speaking of making of, this episode is brought to you by Lisa Mattress. How was my transition?
It was good.
Guys? Yeah. Because they help make this podcast be a thing. Now, guys, I've been having some personal issues in the bedroom with sleeping. I think I might be suffering from disruptive sleep apnea, which is basically where I snore so hard that I start choking in my sleep.
You're not breathing.
Yeah, I'm not breathing. Anyways, I've been really tired. And Lisa talks about, one of their main things is that a quality night's sleep will help you recover from distractions faster, prevent burnouts, make better decisions, improve your memory, all this stuff. And this most recent week, I've been sleeping correctly in one position where I can actually breathe, and it's I've felt so much better than I did last week. So that's very true.
Thank you for that truthful story.
Yeah,
John.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I might have to wear a sleep apnea mask someday, but I'm avoiding that at all costs by not going to the doctor. But one thing that I like about Lisa, they make a great mattress. They have 30 years of experience, and they've done hundreds of hours of testing, which I've said that I would love to volunteer for Lisa if they, continue doing testing. I'd love to help them, make a better mattress by sleeping for them. But outside of making this mattress, they basically are helping make the world a better place too.
How so, John?
They have, I mean, basically every time Lisa's a sponsor, I talk about this because I think this is, at least for me, this is like the biggest selling point for how dope Lisa is. They have a 110 program, which is every 10 mattresses they sell, they donate one mattress to charity. I looked into it because I was like, what does that mean? Are they just like leaving mattresses out on the street? And no, there are nonprofits that help people who are basically, there's the chart I saw is that there's like different phases of homelessness, from like completely homeless on the street to rebuilding your life and making it back to a point of like having a job and living in a home and paying rent and everything. And all those different phases, there are nonprofits that specialize in helping people transition from each step. And Lisa basically works with all of those organizations, giving them beds, helping with housing and things like that.
Lovely.
And they've actually given away, donated more than 26,000 mattresses at this point. So that's a lot of happy sleepers. And they also plant trees. So that's they work with the Arbor Day Foundation, and they plant one tree for every mattress sold, and they are committed to planting 1 million trees by 2025. So smell that? That's a Lisa mattress giving you that air. Anyways, don't miss the summer savings. They're doing a thing where you get $160 off any Lisa mattress if you go to lisa.com/filmhouse. Filmhouse. That's LEESA.com/FILMHAUS. Lisa.com/filmhouse to get $160 off a Lisa mattress. That's mad, isn't it, guys? Almost as mad as Mad Max, another directorial debut from George Miller.
What?
You know, I still never seen it.
You've never seen the original Mad Max?
I've actually never seen a Mad Max movie other than Fury Road.
Not even Thunderdome?
No. It's a weird thing where it's like I know enough about it. I know enough about it in pop culture that I feel like I have seen it.
Yeah.
I know about Boomerang Kid. I know about
you have
the gas
it, though,
tanker.
because they're so wacky. Like
Sure.
that's something that, because I felt the same way, where I was like, I've seen little clips of Mad Max on television, flipping through the channels so many times. Like, I've never actually seen these movies.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few years ago, I watched all of them, and it made me, like, in preparation for Fury Road, and it made me, and this is a controversial opinion I have, it made me not like Charlize Theron in Fury Road.
Why is
that? In all the previous Mad Maxes, everybody is fucking weird and quirky. And the whole world, it's like it creates this universe of, like, in this post-apocalyptia, everyone is just a fucking weirdo. And they all play it with kind of this kookiness. Mm-hmm. And then when I saw Fury Road, everyone had that except one character, which was Furiosa, who was very serious the whole time. It felt like Charlize Theron rather than a character inside of the Mad Max world. I still really love the movie, and I love how badass she is and everything like that, but I just felt like she was playing it without that hint of weirdness. Like, she was the straight man, but she still wasn't kooky, in my opinion. But the first Mad Max is fucking weird.
Well, it's just an angry guy in Australia. Like,
Yeah.
like any like apocalyptic desert tones of the new one that you know, like, I mean, I guess it is technically a very dismantled society in the first one. It's still like kind of a no holds bar world, but like it's just Mel Gibson sort of seeking revenge in the outback.
Yeah, and then there'll be like minute-long car chases where everyone's just driving, and then it zooms in on the guy's eyes, and he has like prosthetic eyes where they're bulging out. And he's just like, gassing it, and it's just really strange.
I guess I would say, like, it's George Miller's prerogative to say, like, I want to remake this movie, and you know what? I did like all the ham-fisted, like, kookiness of the first one, but I kind of want it to be like more of an action film, and more of a. So when I do the remake, I'm gonna put in this character that I at the time I could have never gotten to play, this Furiosa, but.
Yeah, but I mean, everyone was kooky in all three of the movies.
Oh, absolutely.
And then in this one, everyone was kooky in Fury Road except for her.
But I
When you say
appreciate that.
kooky, do you mean like camp?
just
like,
just kind of there's kind of
Weird.
a strangeness to it.
Yeah.
Like
Australian nature, if you will.
oh.
But you know what? Because George Miller made the first one and then made the new one, I would say like
He's allowed to do
you know
that.
I think he's kind of I think he's kind of allowed to.
Yeah,
make-
that's actually really rare. I mean, George Romero, I think, tried to do that a couple times, where he would make a zombie movie like towards the end of his career and life, and he could never really recapture that magic, as opposed to Fury Road, where this is the guy who invented Mad Max, and he brought it back, and I think he made it interesting and very watchable for a bunch of people like me who had never actually, they know what Mad Max is, but they'd never actually seen it, and that movie's a goddamn triumph.
yeah,
Like Fury Road is so goddamn good.
yeah.
It is infinitely rewatchable. It is like it never stops being fun. I don't know. Even when it's kind of slow, it's enough time to breathe. But God, you would not expect an old Australian man to make that movie from
No.
the director of Happy Feet and
And Babe.
Babe Pig in the City. Like comes one of the most awesome movies in the last 10 years.
Well,
like,
and then the first one, you're like, this is night and day, you know, compared to the first Mad Max.
And I just want to be clear, I didn't dislike Furiosa. I just thought that one tiny kooky element was missing.
No,
I think there's enough kookiness in that movie to go around.
Yeah, I
Honestly,
know. It was just
little baby man.
yeah.
You know, sometimes directorial debuts can go too well, and then like you're shoehorned into a second movie that's gonna fuck you over. So, you guys seen Trainspotting? So
Yeah.
great directorial debut, but then after that, basically
The Beach.
the beach. Yeah, Titanic
Oh,
came
yeah.
out. We got to rush to put Leonardo DiCaprio in something, so you shoehorn him into this movie, and you know that's kind of a stain on Danny Boyle for a while.
Yeah.
But another one, I forgot.
Give me a hint. I can help you.
I'm trying to remember
Kevin
myself. No.
yeah, how does it connect to Kevin Bacon?
God damn. All right, I'll remember.
Well,
That's-
I'll say while you think about that, I'll say a directorial debut I need to go back and see because I haven't actually seen it is Jeremy Saulnier's first movie because
Who's that?
did Green
yes.
Room
Jeremy
Rope
Saul.
AUL. And he's got Hold the Dark coming to Netflix this year, and I think he's a director that he's got like a couple movies under his belt, but he's only getting better and better.
So Green Room was his second movie.
Green Room,
He
he,
was
dir-
his third movie.
he directed.
okay.
He was Macon Blair directed Blue Ruin, the guy that stars in it, but he was cinematographer. They're like really good buds. So
Wait.
I've never seen Murder Party, but
Dude.
I should go back and see Murder Party.
Murder Party is so fun. This is
I know. I should watch it tonight.
when I originally came up with the idea to talk about this episode, I wanted to talk about Murder Party, and then for some reason I forgot about it.
Oh.
Murder Party. I'm gonna put up the trailer right now.
Sure.
No, I kind of don't want to see it. I kind of just want to.
yeah.
But no, put it up. Whatever. I'm an
Oh,
adult.
Let's play. Get out of here. Let's play.
Who cares? Let's play it. I'm an adult. I
Well,
can just
it's
watch
so.
it.
No, don't
No,
watch
no,
the
put it
trailer.
up.
We'll just go see it.
I didn't watch the trailer.
Okay.
But I think
when
Green Room
saw
is
it.
so great. I'm so excited for Hold the Dark, and I think that this is a guy that he came out with a really strong debut, and not something that you would go like, this is his best work. But I think this is a director where you go, man, he has so much room to grow, and he kind of puts his whole life in his films.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I should go watch that tonight.
I've been nervous about. I still haven't seen Blue Ruin. I saw Green Room. It was the first movie I ever saw in an Alamo theater, and I was blown away by it. And so then I went back and watched Murder Party, and I watched the trailer for Blue Ruin and said, "This is going to make me feel horrible. I need to work up. I need to be in the right mindset to watch Blue Ruin." And it's been like 3.5 years.
It is real good.
Holy shit! I just saw in there that guy who did what's his name?
Macon Blair, the actor.
director of
Jeremy Saulnier.
Yeah,
yeah.
whatever the director of Green Room is doing 2 episodes of True Detective.
Yeah,
season 3.
He's season
Oh,
3. They brought him
cool.
in.
Well, that got me
I
very interested.
remembered the thing I was going to say. So there was this in 2006. The best foreign picture was this movie called Satsi. It was great. It was from South Africa, and then the movie was so good. This first-time director won an Academy Award for best foreign picture, and then guess what? The next movie he made was
What?
X-Men Origins Wolverine. Yeah,
Sucks.
that's when you take the fast lane to the big check in Hollywood, and it fucks you over.
Well, they did that with the guy who did Godzilla. He was known for making these kind of weird.
He made Monsters.
Yeah. These sort of like subversive, like think pieces of like monsters, and they made Godzilla, which was just I felt like just like a whole like wad of nothing.
Yeah.
which is there's probably a reason why they brought him on was because they're like, oh, he has a talent for this thing. Let's make him do this thing, and it didn't work out.
Well, that's what happened with the guy who directed the first Jurassic World, Colin Trevorrow. He made that like what is it? Like the Craigslist indie movies, time travel thing.
Do you know the name?
Oh, not Safety Guaranteed.
That's
Safety
it.
Not Guaranteed.
Safety Not Guaranteed. And then they give him a $1 billion movie.
Yeah.
And then they're like, this guy's doing Star Wars. And then they saw his other movie and said, this guy's no longer doing Star Wars.
Which I actually like Safety Not
Oh,
Guaranteed.
you guys want to know about another train wreck of good first movie, horrible second movie?
Sure.
Chronicle, Josh Trank, great movie. Then the Fantastic Four, train wreck of train wrecks.
Yeah. And then he rips on everyone online and says it's
Yeah.
everyone else's fault except for mine. And they said, guess what? You're not doing Star Wars either.
Honestly,
Yeah.
though,
Yeah.
in a situation like X-Men Origins or Fantastic Four, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he did run into a lot of roadblocks by whatever studio and executives he's like competing with. Like, those can be, I guess, nightmares to work with.
The Josh Trank thing, I had heard that he was just kind of losing it on set. Like he was trashing houses. I mean, the guy is young. I don't know him.
He's
I
just
don't
in
know
over his
anything, but
head?
Yeah, he might have been in over his head. Couldn't deal with the studio. Just, I don't know. I mean, I get it. Like, I wouldn't want to be 26 years old walking into work and bossing around a bunch of 60-year-old guys, like blue-collar guys all day. That'd be rough, you know?
Sure. I mean, how old was friggin' James Cameron though when he did Terminator? You know,
Well, James Cameron is like a savant. Like,
Sure.
it's, like,
James
different.
Cameron,
Yeah.
drove trucks for 15 years before becoming
Yeah.
a director.
That's how he
right.
knew the truck scenes for Terminator.
Yeah, exactly.
He said, I know
That's-
trucks.
He's like, I've driven a truck off a bridge before.
Yeah.
I
you think
know
of,
what's
like,
gonna happen.
Steven Spielberg making Jaws and he's like 26 or 27, I guess. And man, and me even now, I'm like, I could not clothe myself at 26.
Yeah,
Like,
that was also back at a time where like, oh, you went to film school,
Sure,
therefore
yeah.
you know how to make a movie. There's these days you go to film school, it's like, fuck you, you probably aren't even good enough to like, grab me coffee, you know.
Give me $100,000.
It's
Yeah.
I think it's sort of the gold rush mentality.
Yeah,
where,
absolutely.
So because there's like a famous photo, right? It's like Coppola, Lucas, Spielberg, and someone
Like
else.
De Palma?
De Palma, yeah. And so it's like even De Palma, say what you will, like he did make what was the friggin' movie he did? I mean, he did Scarface, but he did a couple other things.
Black
where it's like-
Dahlia.
The Untouchables.
And Tootsie,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
He-
No, I'm just kidding.
like,
I don't know what he made.
even those on that list, or like that master list, these are all guys who like went to film school together,
Yeah.
and they were like the chosen ones. These guys, and they for they shaped what Hollywood was for the longest time. And then I think a lot of people saw them and went, film school. That's
Yeah.
what we'll tell people. So now,
I'm one of them.
yeah, well, those like, I mean, I dropped out of film school. I almost
okay.
went to Hollywood Film School, and then I went, no, this is a scam.
Yeah.
I should probably get away from this because people are saying, give us $100,000 and we will, in 1 year, you'll be in the film program. And you're like, but there's no guarantee at all.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people now getting rich off of people by selling them on the dream of, if you go to film school, like George Lucas, who dropped out, and he actually ended up hiring his film professor to direct Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
So figure that one out.
I mean, that how long can they really sell that narrative? Like, I mean, when was the last
I
time
think the
you
narrative
have
now
that?
is don't go to film school.
Yeah. Is it though? Like, I wonder. Like, I even wonder if I go back to my film school, like, are they still teaching the same things? Are they still trying to tell their students that you can be Quentin Tarantino and you can make Reservoir Dogs? Like, are they still telling them that?
Maybe. I didn't go, but I don't think it's bad, to be honest. Like,
Well, you want to. I mean, look, if I'm spending my own money to be in college, I want to make sure that I'm like, prepared to get work, or at least have a realistic future. You know.
sure.
I think you go to film school to meet like-minded people who also want to make movies.
Right.
But you can also do that at community college. You can do that at a different college. You can just do that at. I don't think paying extreme. Like I said, this was $100,000 they wanted me to pay in 2003 or 4. Like
You're paying what to put on your resume, but I think
But
like
I mean, no, to like go to film school and get like a hyper education in a year.
I
That's
think
what they were selling me on.
I think it would be like dismissive to say you don't walk out of there having learned something.
Yeah.
that
Oh, no,
prepares
not at
you
all.
and.
I would sure he would have learned something too at the Hollywood Film School.
Probably, yeah. But also, I think I don't know. It's that strange thing where I think if anyone, especially now in today's world, if you have any sort of interest in anything, you can learn most of the basic foundation online.
Yeah.
I think you can take an online class. You can just watch movies, listen to director's commentary. I think you get enough of that that you can start and then just make shit.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can film something on your phone. Well, the guy who did Hereditary, right? Like he had that one movie, Bo, that he shot in a day, like in an apartment, and it looks like he just shot it on like a handy cam. And it's like, you look at that and go, oh, okay, if this guy had some money, what else could he do?
Yeah.
And I think enough people have that option now where they didn't have that 30 years ago.
Or like, did you guys see Tangerine? Mm-mm. It's the guy, first movie, the guy who made the Florida Project.
Oh.
I have not seen what is the Florida Project?
It's
It's exercise and depression is like what it is.
Yeah, it's not uplifting.
No.
But another legendary first feature that people love, but I think really sucks is El Mariachi, the Robert Rodriguez movie that was made for $8,000 in the 90s.
That movie is actually, the story of it is more interesting.
Yes,
absolutely.
The book is more interesting.
Yeah,
Yes,
The Rebel
yes.
Without a Crew.
Yeah.
But
Book
then
he wrote.
Desperado is basically a remake.
Right.
Same
Yeah.
with Sam Raimi and Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 is basically a remake.
Yeah.
Right.
Even Fury Road is kind of a remake.
This is what I would have done if I had.
Yeah. So there's always that sort of interesting thing where it's like, here's what I can do for nothing. Studio, give me money and we'll remake it and we'll just call it part 2.
Yeah.
Or we'll just name it something else and we'll show Selma Hayek's tits.
Not to move
That's
away
what
from
he
here,
said,
but
not
could
me.
you look up Danny DeVito's directorial filmography?
Oh, for sure.
He did Death to Smoochie, right?
I think his first one was Matilda, right?
Let's
Yes.
see. Or his
Oh.
IMDb, I guess.
Oh, is this what you're talking about?
No, not Frank's Best Moments on Always Sunny.
Yeah, I think Matilda was his first film.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing that and being like, what? I know I can minimize it, but scrolling is also fun.
So Danny
So he
DeVito's actually
did-
directed
whoa,
23
he's actually
things.
done a bunch of stuff. Oh, Throw Mama from the Train.
Oh, okay, there. War of the Roses, Hoffa.
Wow.
Death to Smoochie
It's a dark movie.
is a very dark movie.
Yeah.
Duplex. He hasn't directed anything since 2003, but he has a movie called Saint Sebastian coming out. Oh, and they used your favorite font.
Is that Papyrus?
Yeah, that's how they did the subtitles in Avatar. That's $1 billion movie. You
Oh, he
can't
did
use anything.
Duplex?
I don't know
With
Duplex.
Drew Barrymore.
I know Duplex.
I remember
Dark
seeing that in the theaters.
movies.
It's Ben Stiller, and there's an
Yeah.
old woman that they're trying to get rid of in the duplex.
Oh,
and she
right,
just will
right.
not go.
It's basically just a remake of The Money Pit, isn't it?
Kind of,
Yeah.
but with the old woman.
Uh-huh.
Because she is a sturdy old bag, and
That she is. Look at her.
She's so scheming.
Is Peter Jackson's first movie Dead Alive?
I believe it was Meet the Feebles.
Well, Dead Alive is so
Why do you
good.
laugh?
It's just funny. First
That
food.
the amount of information stored in my head is so useless. Yet here it is. Come on, Meet the Feebles. Nope.
The Valley.
No, Bad
Bad
Taste.
Taste.
Totally forgot about that one. Yeah, that's the one where it's
Well,
like
Dead Alive is the first one I've seen.
Oh!
That movie is amazing. That looks pretty awesome.
My
whatever
friend
that
had a
is.
poster of this.
yeah, it's really
You should
weird.
print that out
It's
for the
Mad Max.
office.
Yeah. This is
Good old
but
Peter.
Same.
Whoa! I need to watch this.
Peter
Yeah.
Peter Jackson's also a really interesting story too of just this guy in New Zealand, complete love of film, and it's insane to see what he built there. There's a
Yeah.
lot of just interesting backstory there of how he built Wingnut and Weta and these things with like a lot of like-minded people in New Zealand of all places, and goes from The Frighteners to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
Dude.
I don't know how he landed that deal. Was it big? Was it just because he was like, I can do this on the cheap?
I think it was we can do 3 movies for $175 million.
It was he went in. It was because New Line Cinema, the CEO or one of the execs was a Lord of the Rings fan. So basically, Peter Jackson teamed up with Weta, and they had made a bunch of props and started development on everything, and they pitched it to every studio. Every studio said no, and then they went to New Line, and he's like, "We can do Lord of the Rings. Look at all this stuff we've made, and it'll be 1 movie for this much." And the New Line Cinema guy was like, "Let's make it 3," and that's genuinely like how it got sold. Was that the Lord of the Rings is a very popular series that some even old fart executives were children when they read it and loved it and want to see a movie of it. So,
And I'm sure they're glad they did.
Well, I mean, up to that point too, Lord of the Rings was kind of at least I thought it was dorky and stupid. Like my uncle was into The Hobbit, and he was like, "You should read The Hobbit." He showed me the visual book of it, and I was like, "Wow, this looks like garbage. Like this looks terrible." Bilbo, like his name's Bilbo. Cool.
Yeah.
That rhymes with other words.
Yeah.
And then I saw the trailer for Fellowship, and it's like, oh, Lord of the Rings looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
Same with Harry Potter. I mean, my
yes,
brother was
of
reading that
course.
stuff.
This is classic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, describe what we're watching.
This is Leonard Nimoy's musical debut.
Mm-hmm. If anyone's going to make The Hobbit cool, it's Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah. Wait, are his ears pointed? Is he just like in the Vulcan?
Yeah, I think this was during Star Trek.
No one cared.
This is the 60s.
They just get away
Oh
with
yeah,
whatever.
it's look on the right. It says the title, the album, Mr. Spock's Music from Outer Space. Is that what it is?
Maybe.
Well, I don't know those two worlds will ever collide in our lifetime again.
I don't know, man. Maybe with the Infinity War, maybe IP mixing. Once Disney owns everything,
Sure.
it's going to be Power Rangers versus Ninja Turtles and all that shit.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, John, any lasting thoughts you want to go out on?
Freddie got fingered.
Yeah, Freddie
Who
got
directed-
fingered.
wait,
Let's all.
Tom Green.
Oh, that was his directorial. Wait, what else has he directed since then? That's it, right?
It was his directorial effort.
Oh, okay. I still haven't seen it, and I don't. Is it?
I haven't seen
is
it
even
either.
worth it?
There's this movie called Master of Disguise.
Yeah, we've all seen it.
Brilliant.
Turtle.
I saw it in
Am I not
theaters.
turtly
I saw it in
enough
theaters,
for your
and
turtle
this
club?
movie is like, I'm pretty sure, an hour and 6 minutes or something.
Just enough.
Yeah. Like it was. That's actually really so stupid.
It's wonderful.
I know. I like when I saw this in theaters, I laughed my ass off.
Yes.
And for some reason, it's one of the worst movies regarded as
Yes.
one of the worst movies ever. But anyways, that's my final thought. I want to thank Jared
Oh,
for
thank
being
you.
here. And I'm pretty sure this episode is coming out. When do your guys' podcasts come out?
So our podcast comes out on Friday. So check out the Wisecrack podcast called Show Me the Meaning. Adam's going to be on next week. So next Friday, we're covering David Lynch's first movie, Eraserhead.
Which I have never seen.
Oh, boy,
And that
you're in for
this
it.
episode's also coming out Friday, Saturday of next week. So you guys can actually go check it out right now.
Yeah. So check out Show Me the Meaning on either our YouTube channel, Wisecasts, or on Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, wherever you usually find podcasts.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
All right.
Looking forward to having you on.
I can't wait.
Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you all at the Turtle Club.
Peace.
I'm turtly enough.
It's so hard for me to make fun of Dana Carvey.
And that I feel like is more apparent because it is not the exciting magic trick that Steven Spielberg is pulling out or another competent director. And they're just saying, people just want to see dinosaurs eat people, so we're going to get to that point. Fast forward.
But then every single time it seems like it's about to go buck wild, we're going to slow it down and then we're going to try and justify it again. But then Jurassic